These are live visuals coming in of the joint opposition candidate Yashwant Sinha, all set to file his nomination for the president. It becomes interesting as even before developments came in on the presidential elections, there was already animosity between Yashwant Sinha and Draupadi Murmu, with Yashwant Sinha making some loose comments, calling Draupadi Murmu, which is a NDA candidate, as a rubber stamp, a mere rubber stamp. He already received enough backlash for belittling a tribal leader. At this point, of course, Yashwant Sinha becomes the unanimous candidate for the opposition, a joint opposition. But nonetheless, one knows that he is the fourth choice for the opposition. Multiple choices before him did not materialize, but now Yashwant Sinha becomes the joint opposition candidate for president. He is filing his nomination. These are visuals coming in live. All right, here he has all the opposition strength at this point. Even the TRS, which so long did not react, has finally backed the joint opposition candidate Yashwant Sinha. In fact, we're looking at all political parties. Most of the representatives there who are on the opposition right now present here as Yashwant Sinha files his nomination for the president's candidature. Yashwant Sinha, former union minister, in fact, who moved from the BJP, joined the TMC. Yashwant Sinha now becomes the joint opposition candidate. You see all the tall leaders from the Congress, the SP, the TMC, leaders from various opposition parties, NCP, who are currently seated right beside Yashwant Sinha as he files his nomination at this minute. This comes just a day after the NDA candidate Draupadi Murmu filed her nomination. Remember all that talk? Yashwant Sinha made some comments just a few days ago, soon after he was nominated by the United Opposition for being their choice of president candidate. Yashwant Sinha immediately made comments against Draupadi Murmu, calling her a rubber stamp candidate. At this point, Yashwant Sinha himself filing his nomination, becoming the joint opposition's candidate. Maushami joining us for more on that. Maushami, Yashwant Sinha, in the backdrop of all those comments that he made against Draupadi Murmu, calling her a rubber stamp candidate of the NDA, himself today files his nomination. He's got the backing of the United Opposition, but something tells us that the opposition at this point don't have the numbers entirely for Yashwant Sinha's easy sale.
That's right. Even after, KCR joined the bandwagon with the opposition, supporting the opposition's candidate, but Mayawati, in fact, supporting the NDA's candidate, the figures are stacked against Yashwant Sinha. This comes at a time when the optics are playing out on the screens. Yashwant Sinha reaching to file his nominations, flanked by Akhilesh Yadav, Sharad Pawar, Rahul Gandhi, and all the other top leaders of the opposition parties. This is a show of strength from the opposition, even as politics plays out in Maharashtra with a tit for tat between the rebel camps in Delhi. As Yashwant Sinha files his nomination, the opposition is trying to put up a united front. Sharad Pawar is there, Praful Patel is there, so leaving the hectic activities of that's happening in Mumbai, Sharad Pawar left to because he was the one who made sure that the opposition had a united candidate. And Yashwant Sinha, in fact, has been a staunch critic of the Modi government. He fell apart from Prime Minister Narendra Modi ever since the Modi government came in power, and criticized the policies of the government out in the open, and thereafter he actually joined the TMC. So it was Mamata Banerjee who had proposed his name, even as he contests against
He still Maushami at this point remains to be the
Remember,
fourth
yesterday
choice.
we saw how Prime Minister, right, Chati?
Nabila here, Maushami. From what we see here, that it could be very possible that Yashwant Sinha was the final choice, because three other options for the joint opposition fell flat. And finally, they arrived at Yashwant Sinha. And what we hear is that Jayant Sinha, his own son, who's also a parliamentarian with the BJP, is not fully in support of his father's candidacy.
That's right, Nabila. Pardon me for that because you have got a very distinct voice, but there's a little noise here, so pardon me for that that mistake. But yes, what you said was right. You know, perhaps the opposition rubbing salt into the wounds of the BJP, because Yashwant Sinha has been a former union minister who has handled the finance ministry, and it was the economics of the Modi government that he criticized profusely, where after that he actually parted ways with the BJP. So the opposition, you know, after the first two choices didn't work out for the opposition, put up a candidate that could be supported and agreed upon by all. This came at a time when the Congress party already was dealing with its own problems of Rahul Gandhi being summoned with by the ED, and so the Congress party perhaps couldn't find a candidate, but agreed with what Mamata Banerjee had proposed, and Sharad Pawar was instrumental in joining the chorus of the opposition. So we will have to wait and see how this really unfolds, but it is going to be very critical because this president will oversee the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, and that's one reason, you know, stakes are very high for the presidential elections.
Right. You know, Mashmi, at this point, we'd like to understand on what the opposition, united opposition collectively found in Yashwant Sinha. He's a defector himself. He has moved from the BJP to the TMC. His son still remains with the BJP, who seems to be opposing Yashwant Sinha's move to accept this joint consensus of the opposition. So really, what are the credentials or credibility that the opposition united has seen in Yashwant Sinha at this point?
You know, consistently, Yashwant Sinha, when the Modi government came into power, Yashwant Sinha has consistently, you know, trained his guns against the policies of the Modi government. He is a financial expert, and he has outlined the contours of why the Modi government has erred many times, and you know, that's the front that the opposition is looking at to attack the Modi government as far as employment and the policies are concerned. The primary reason is that he is actually a critic of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in specific, and the opposition found merit that in case, you know, they need to fall back on the president after the results of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, they need a president that could be trusted upon, that would not side with the BJP government. So that criteria as far as loyalty factor is concerned weighed heavily in favor of Yashwant Sinha, and with Sharad Pawar declining the offer, they needed a political, a man with political acumen to be on that post, a man or a woman. So on that count, Yashwant Sinha has a vast political career. He's been the finance minister. He went on to become the external affairs minister. So he has a vast political experience. He's been with the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government. He knows the BJP leaders. He's worked with them. He knows the functioning of the party, and that's one reason that the opposition banked upon him. He was a part of the Trinamool Congress. So he now, after joining the rank and file of the opposition, they really felt that Yashwant Sinha qualified well as far as the merit, political merit is concerned, his distinguished career and educational background and his achievements to in fact remember that his name came first and Draupadi Murmu's name was announced by the BJP and the NDA government much later. So importantly, there are two different choices that both the sides have made, and even as the odds are heavily in favor of Draupadi Murmu, the opposition here through these optics is trying to send in a message that they are united as their choice for the presidential nominee. Nabila.
Mashmi, thank you very much.